NPA head Shamila Batohi today continued with her testimony at the Nkabinde Commission of Inquiry probing suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions Chauke's fitness to hold office. Batohi is a central figure in the proceedings, having initially written to the President to request an inquiry into Chauke. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala joins us live from the capital with the latest from the proceedings. Nqobile, a very good afternoon to you. What did Shamila Batohi have to say today?
Good afternoon, Vio. From what we have seen already and what we have heard from the evidence that has been brought forward, what basically they're arguing is that further than what was said to be the role of Advocate Chauke was way beyond just the coordination. And what she has put forward is the fact that the details, in fact, they went into his diary where there were details of meeting with the DDP, meeting with other various parties, updating certain documentation and so on, which shows that there's a lot more that was involved than anything. But as we explain that, I want to show you what's happening right behind me, because this is the team that is currently leading the evidence, and you'll see there Shamila Batohi, Advocate Shamila Batohi is there, and she, of course, as a key figure, is the one that was giving testimony. This is the second week into her testimony where she's trying to explain exactly what are the details and what is expected of a prosecutor and one that has a jurisdiction. And this is what her argument has been on, that she had noticed that Chauke was not really merely working as a coordinator, but further than that was party and was intimately being part of the processes, intimately being involved in these processes. Part of what has come out as well is that the Director of Public Prosecutions in KwaZulu-Natal, Mlojwa, at the time even got frustrated because of the processes that were taking place, even going as far as asking why is it that he was not furnished with the right documents so that he is able to understand what was taking place. But in the emails that were going between him, Chauke, and the PA at the time, it does show that there's a sense of exerting themselves to Mlojwa. In fact, he goes on to say that if there are further questions with regards to what he was asking, then rather Mlojwa must have a meeting with Advocate Chauke as well as Advocate Jiba, who was at the time being the acting national prosecuting of public prosecution. And he says that most of the information that he has, he can't completely give it to Advocate Mlojwa, but he does expect him to sign the indictment. It even goes further as when he refuses to sign this indictment without the documentation. It goes on, and you can see already that there is a change of mind, a sort of a shift in between them, and that they are not in agreement. But it seems as if at the time Advocate Chauke was sort of exerting himself in that position. And this is what's being argued by Advocate Shamila Batohi, that he didn't just play a role of planning and coordinating, but rather did more than that. And in fact, he went as far as trying to get that certificate of racketeering charge. But I want to listen in now to a bite that we took a little earlier that explains it a bit further.
Did you investigate this matter further before you wrote the letter? Did you take it further than Mlojwa saying, I did not have any further interactions, or I did not hear anything further from Chauke from this date going forward, before you made the decision? Because in your letter you are clear. You say, I have made the decision. I have come to a conclusion that there needs to be an inquiry, or there needs to be further investigation on your conduct. So can you just clarify whether you still do not know?
As I sit here, I do not know if Advocate Mlojwa received the prosecution memo. What I do know is what happened subsequently, and my decision to refer the matter to the President was not taken at this stage. It was taken after. There's a lot of evidence in this bundle. I will explain the next step insofar as how it came about that Advocate Jiba in fact signed the racketeering authorization.
Well, Vuyo, as you could hear there, those are some of the questions that were coming from Justice Nkabinde, just trying to get into details into whether or not this documentation that was asked for, did Advocate Mlotshwa finally get it? And of course, we heard there from Advocate Shamila Batohi just explaining that some of the documents, she's not sure if Advocate Mlotshwa did finally get it. But what we do know is that shortly after what had taken place, his employment at the time as an acting director of public prosecution in KwaZulu-Natal was actually terminated, and he would later then, and then somebody else would then take his position, and that charge of racketeering against General Johan Boysen as well as the other, those who were part of the Cato Manor unit would be reinstated, and they will end up in court.
Do we know when Advocate Jiba may be called to explain the decision to appoint Chauke to the KZN jurisdiction?
At the moment, there has been no mention in terms of actually calling in Advocate Jiba, but we know that she's a central figure because this was the acting. She was the acting national prosecutor of public prosecution, and what we know is that because of her role and what her decision was at the time, and because there was so much pressure with regards to what was taking place in KZN, she made those decisions, but based on what has taken place here and what has been highlighted here, it seems it was not according to the law. And this is what Advocate Shamila Batohi is trying to explain, that it wasn't supposed to be done in the manner that it did because of the fact that there's jurisdiction, because of the fact that the president does actually choose these prosecutors according to the high court seats that they need to be working in. And these were some of the things that were not acknowledged when there was this choice. But we do know that there are 3 employees from NPA that are going to be brought in to be able to speak to these issues. And one of them is Advocate Kherinel, which we understand is going to also be brought in, as well as Advocate Nqobile, who's also supposed to come in and sort of speak to some of these decisions, whether or not he was responsible for those decisions when he took over as well. But at the moment, they haven't highlighted exactly whether or not Advocate Jiba will be brought in as well to talk and explain really what happened.